welcome to Be Divine Vintage. It's Sharon here. Today I am going to show you how I made this envelope, and not only how I made the envelope, but how I embossed the fabric. This is actually raised embossed fabric. I just take the rose off the front, we can, or the back, whichever you want to call it, the front or the back of the envelope. You can see the envelope there, and inside it's a fully fabric embossed envelope. It is not attached to card or paper. It's fully fabric. So initially I made these envelopes as this one, which looks like this on the other side, and this one. This was the first one I made. This was the second one. This is the third one. So this one I fastened with a stick pin that I made. Very proud of that. It's the first stick pin I've ever made. This one, when you open it up, is lined. So this one has got a fabric and wadding lining, whereas this one is just the two sides of the fabric. This one is the wadding lining. So I will do a video on how I made these, because I've been asked a lot how I made those. But today I'm going to show you how I embossed the fabric, stages I went through, and then how I made this. I've only put this on for now. I may add lace, etc., but for now that is sitting on there. So I'll show you what I did. So while I was making these, I thought to myself, I wonder if you can emboss fabric. And I ran my fabric through, and not much really happened. And then I watched some videos and I saw that people had attached it to paper and ran it through that way, and it had embossed. They glued it to paper, but I didn't want to do that. I didn't want to glue it to paper. So this is what I came up with. I'm just going to sit down. So first of all, the first job was to dye my fabrics. So I selected some colours that I liked and that I thought went together nicely. So here it's just cotton fabric, It could be pillowcases, it could be sheets, whatever you've got to hand, just cotton fabric. So I've got a tea stained one by Jessica. I have got a Have a Nice Time. I've got a beetroot dyed. I love this one. Look at the bits of purple on it, and there's actually some yellow on there as well. I'm loving the beetroot dyeing. So that was my beetroot dyed. This I did with some, this is peony pink from some Dylon fabric dye that I bought. And I sort of screwed it up into a little ball, put it in a jar, pulled it out, and this is what I came back with. I mean, before I screwed it up, I followed all the instructions for washing and for using different things you have to use on the fabrics. Just bear with me a second. Oh, it's on my apron there. It wasn't very comfy. And then this one is supposedly deep sea blue, and it is actually a very, very dark blue colour. However, this isn't, because I literally dipped it in and dipped it out. I liked the dark purple colour, but I thought let's just do a light purple, and you can see the different tones in there. So then what I did was I tore a piece of fabric the size of the embossing folders. I've only got two. All that under there. So I've only got two embossing folders, large ones. I've got small ones, large ones. and I bought this high-tack fabric stiffener, and I got this off Etsy. No, I didn't. I got it off eBay. So easy to use, used to stiffen and drape ribbons, lace, bows, fabric, etc. And it's actually can be used to make fabric into blinds. In fact, the first piece that I did, my test piece, which is here, these are my 2 test pieces. That one is without gilding. That one is with gilding. This one is extremely stiff because I put a lot of this on. And this would make a blind quite easily. This one I didn't put as much on. So this one is a little bit softer. I could probably do a blind. But I liked this. I loved this one as well. But this was enough for what I needed to use it for, because this isn't cheap. So then I got my paintbrush. Let me just dry that off. I've just had it in some water. And you literally, I'm just going to stand up now. I literally painted my fabric all over with my fabric stiffener. The first one I did, which was the really stiff one, I gave it 2 coats of this. The second one, I just gave 1 coat. And I find that, for me, 1 coat is stiff enough. So you literally paint this on. Now, the best is to leave it to dry. Now, here in the UK, it's still winter, I suppose. It's not spring for another 3 weeks. It's been taking about 6 to 8 hours to dry, so it is a time-consuming process. I did try to dry it with my heat tool on, actually. Burned a hole, and that happened really quickly. So no to the heat tool. Whether you can put it in the oven, I don't know. I've just preferred to follow the instructions, which is not like me, but follow the instructions and just to let it dry naturally itself. So hence this video is quite a while in the making, because I've wanted to prepare some of these pieces of embossed fabric to make the envelope with. The good thing about the envelope I'm going to show you now is you don't need to stitch it. So if you haven't got a sewing machine, you can make it. If you have got a sewing machine, you can put some edges on if you want to. You could even do some hand stitching. Some slow stitching around the edge would look nice too. All you need is some scissors and a bit of fabric glue. Right, so once you've got that on, you leave that to dry. So I'm just going to move it. Right, so that's my embossing folder. And let's just measure it. Let's have a measurement. Oh, here's my ruler. It is almost 30 centimetres, which is almost 12 inches by 21.5. So it's similar to A4 size. So here is my stiffened fabric. Here is this fabric before. It's the beetroot fabric. You can see how soft and floppy that is, just like normal fabric. This now is stiff, can hold its own, and you can hear the crackle. So then I get my embossing folder, and this has got some lovely like paisley patterns on it. Now you can either just do it as it is if you want it plain, but I'm going to put some gilding polish. So I've got this metallic gilding polish by Cosmic Shimmer, and this is apricot I've chose to use. And you want to put it, well, I put it on the side that's depressed, the depressed side, so that when it pushes in, the gilding will be on the side that sticks up. So you're putting it on the depressed side. And I got a brush. This is one I use for gilding polishes, etc. And I just paint it over to get it into all those nooks and crannies. Now the thing is, it does wash off. I just got hot soapy water, a little scrubbing brush, and it scrubs off. This does, the Cosmic Shimmer does. I don't know about others, that would be up to you to try it, but the Cosmic Shimmer scrubs off. So I literally go all over like this. On my own again today. Hubby's at one of our nurseries. We've got Children's Day nurseries. He's there today building a huge sort of doll's house wall divider. So it's a divider between two rooms. But it looks like a great, from one side it looks like a great big doll's house. Really pretty. Really pretty. So he's doing that today. Olivia's at her boyfriend's. Jessica's down because she's going to a baby shower today. So I've got just me now for a few hours. Right, so put that on. Making sure it's in the depressions. Ruins your brushes, so don't use your best brush. I just keep the, I've been using this one all along. So there we go. Put the lid back on there. Get your fabric, choose the bit that you want, pop it on and close it too. Now, and I'm going to put that in my Big Shot. Now the only thing is, I have left this in the Big Shot for the same amount of time, the 6 hours that my other piece of fabric is drying. So I keep running it with backwards and forwards through the Big Shot. So during the course of the 6 hours, it must get about 50 backwards and forwards. I mean, you might not need to do that, but I'm a bit obsessive and I wanted to make sure I had a really good imprint. So that's what I did. So I'll get that. I'll just pop it to the side and I will put it in my Big Shot after. Right, so I have actually just taken this out of the Big Shot. These are by Sheena Douglas, by the way, these embossing folders. Both of them, Sheena Douglas. And they are like, remind me of an oriental, sort of Indian, Asian style prints. So when you open it, there we go. So there's that's depressed down, but what was the depressed side here is the embossed side, and there's the emboss up. There we go. Right, so these are some ones that I have embossed. That's the one, beetroot. This is a coffee stain with no gilding on. There's peony pink fabric stain with no gilding. Oh, I think there's a little bit of gilding just caught down the middle there, but for me that is fine, I've no problem. And then as I show you the envelope, I cut quite a bit off because it does use quite a bit of odd shapes, because you've only got them this A4 size because of the size of the scissors. I suppose you could make them bigger and stitch them together. But I had a piece here. And this is the ocean blue one. I love this colour. And I had some pieces that I'd cut off. So I've actually stitched them in there. So these were my scraps, and made another A4 piece. So I would use that no problem within an envelope. So let me get my pins and let's begin. So I'm going to do this using these pieces. So first of all, you need to decide which is going to be this shape of piece. Sort of what would be, I suppose, the front of your envelope, where in theory you would put an address. So I am going to choose this pink for that. So you need, I've got my measurements here. You need it 8 inches wide. 8 inches wide, which is 20.5 centimetres. So I'm going to measure my 8 inches. I work in both, and that's because of my age. And when I went to school, I learned both imperial and metric, and I'm actually not very good at either. So at 8, I'm going to make a little cut. Now you have to be really careful when tearing it, because it actually is quite a fragile. As I found out yesterday, it did sort of do its own thing. So 8 inches wide, and I'm going to do it 10 inches, which is there. Oh, before we tear off there, you need to decide then which do you want sort of for the top, the foldy part down of your envelope. Just trying to undo that there. So which you want for the foldy part down? Do you want that bit? Or do you want that bit, the plain bit? Well, I'm actually going to use this bit. So I need to measure from this end, and I need 10 inches, which is approximately 25.5 centimetres. So I'm going to cut there, and I am carefully going to tear that off. Now you may want to cut, oh, you see what I mean? I'll show you how to fix that. You may want to cut, however, I quite like the frayed edges. So we tear that off. And then exact thing happened to me yesterday. I just got a little bit of that pink. And in fact, this is the bit I wanted to do that with. Anyway, never mind. I got a little bit of the pink. Put some fabric tack on. I did a little bit of patching up. So put that on there. Luckily, this is my inside. Is it? Oh no, I've done it on the wrong side. This is my outside. Sorry. So you go on your inside bit. I did a little bit of patching up. Cut that off. And on the other side, I just sort of stuck that down, and I'm happy with that. So you may prefer to cut it. Right. I'm not the world's straightest cutter, that's why I like tearing. Some people amaze me, some of these artists who just all the way along and have got it perfectly cut in a straight line, you know, 90-degree angles. I have got one of them rolly things to cut with, so I could cut it with a ruler. However, it's disappeared out of my craft room. Right, back to this. So next, this is the bit that's going to fold down. So you need to find halfway and just, that is actually right on the halfway joint. That I do use a bone folder just to get that crease, and I will just use a pin there. So that is halfway. This one comes to there, and that is halfway. Now what I'm going to do on this side is I just used some dry glue. It's my Pritt stick. I just put some Pritt in the middle. Then I got my Fabri-Tac and I just put a bead of glue around the edge and along where it's going to fall down and just up the middle. And voila. You might want to stitch that down, or you glue it down and stitch it later. Let's take that pin out. So this side I did exactly the same, just put some glue stick on just to give it that tackiness down. That's the end of the glue stick use. Along there, and fall that down. Now if you want to, you could saw down that middle seam. I don't want to. I'm going to just put a little bit more Fabri-Tac under there, you know, just checking it, check everything's fixed down properly. I'm not going to do any, I might do some stitching after off camera, but I don't really stitch down that seam. Now next you need to, you've got that midline down there, so next fold this down sort of to where you would like it to go. Just put a little crease. Then what you need to do is just fold it back along that crease and just pop a pin in it just to keep it out of the way. There we go. To just keep it out of the play, where so you're left with that oblong, and that oblong measures 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 5 and 8 tenths, is it? 5 and 8 little bits, and crosswise it should be 8 across. So in centimetres it's 20 centimetres by 14.5. So you've got that. Actually, that's just not quite square. Let's just square that up. Use this concept to help me square it up. That's there. That's there. There. Right. So next we're going to put these parts on your envelope. So what you need to do here is get your fabrics, decide which way you want them, whether you want them like sort of this or whether you want the cream on top. I'm actually going to put the cream on top. So this is my top and this will go across there. Now the best way to do this is then so you want it to go from that corner to the opposite corner at the bottom. This is the top, this is the bottom. You put your piece of fabric on, turn it over and line it up on that line. Now if you wish, you could make a template for that and just cut out your template. I prefer to do it this way because you might just be every envelope will probably be millimeters or what have you out a little bit. If you're me, they are. If you're my mum, nothing is out. Everything's perfect. Right, so I have got on the outside of this envelope, I've got the raised embossed. And on the outside of the front or back of the envelope, I've got the raised embossed. So that's there. So then we just get our scissors and we literally use the base envelope as your guidelines and cut that shape out. Do you know, I'd have been better standing up to do that, because I think I've gone a little bit, just a little bit off there. So that is what it looks like, and then the flap will come over. So as you can see out of that, I have that cut out, which is that. So I just filled it in with some pieces. So you have that. Now, whether you have enough to go across, yes, there is enough there to go across to do another, so you could have both matching the same. That'd be pretty, very pretty. But I'm not. I'm going to add some of this green to it. So again, I look for my raised side, which is here. I'll put that on corner to corner, so you're doing the opposite corners. I'll just turn that over. Make sure you're going across on that line. From there to there. You see from there, let's just zoom in a little bit. So you're on that line from there to there. And I'm just going to pin those pieces on. And again, I get my scissors. I'm going to stand up this time and just cut across. Such a simple technique. I did see this sort of I've adapted this technique. I think she's called So Easy. I didn't make a note of it. So Easy on YouTube. So that is that. We can trim these bits off after. So now I'm just going to take my pins out, because I've got my 2 triangles. There. Get the old Fabri-Tac and do the bottom one first. Just check that that's how I want it to go. Do I want it like that, or do I want it like... I'm actually going to put this one on top, actually, because of the gold. Right, so I'm going to now put this one on. Don't we change our minds as we go along? As crafters, have you ever done that? You started off doing one project and then ended up with something completely different. So I'm just running beads of glue along there. I'm going to pop that onto there, and then I'm going to do the same on this side. A bead of glue down there. I'm so excited that I've embossed fabric. I know you can emboss it onto card, I know that, but just to emboss it as a standalone piece I thought was fab. I'm going to make some tags. I'm going to make all different sizes and shapes of envelopes. You can do like coin wallets and all sorts, couldn't you? Right. I'm going to just run a little bit along here. Just glue that bit down there. Then I'm just going to have a look around to see if I need to trim anything, really. Anything that doesn't look quite right to me. my mum was talking about, me and my mum are doing some craft work together on a Wednesday. My mum's 86 and she's always loved craft, doing bits and pieces of craft work and mainly crocheting, knitting. She's a trained seamstress, but she's not really, apart from making all the kids Halloween costumes and Christmas costumes and things, she's not really done any sewing, proper sewing for a long time. So we're together, we're following Jean Rag and we're making a lace book. We're doing one each, but we're doing it together. And I'm just like cutting away willy-nilly and what have you. My mum's measuring everything. And my mum said, I don't know you can do that. It's got to be perfect for me. She said, even when I hang a picture up, it's all got to be measured and be in the exact spot in the middle and all this. Whereas I'm just... And I got to thinking and I thought, yeah, that's how some people are. That's just them. And my mum was what they call a block. She learned to do patterning by blocks. So when we were little and what have you, or anybody now, she can make an outfit without even making a pattern. She would just measure your vital measurements and then she could make you an outfit. It's this particular method that she was taught, and she's just, her eye is so good. There's the envelope finished. I've just unpinned that, fold it over, and there is the envelope finished. Now what I did, it's all ready for you to embellish there actually. What I did on mine is I stitched around. I did a tiny zigzag stitch around and I did a fancy stitch. You see it on there, a little fancy stitch round and across. I did a fancy stitch across there. Now that is entirely up to you. I think it looks beautiful like that. Or you can do some stitching, you could do some slow stitching, etc. You can add lace and that would look really pretty. You could add, let's get my little, this is just one of my boxes of prettiness. You could add something on there. That's one of those Tim Holtz, don't know, like a badge without a badge, without a, you could add a brooch. Let's find a nice brooch. That's quite pretty actually with that rose goldy colour. I quite like that. I've got loads and loads and loads. This one, I love this brooch because it's like got a pin through it as well. Anyway, there's another one. So I've got so many bits and bobs. There's a nice, or you could make a beaded stick pin fastener. That would look quite nice. You could sew stick on a where's my roses? You could stick on a rose, like, you know, the rosette rose. Where's my rosette roses gone? Like this. You could stick one of these on, like a rosette rose. That would look quite pretty on there as well. They were here, but I have been tidying up. I tidied up because my mum was coming. We'll just have a look. There's some big ones. Let's just cut it off. That's quite pretty actually. So this is some rosette. Oh, that I like that on there. Rose on. No, in fact, I'm going to put that on. And what I did before is I just, for this pinkness, I just rubbed over it some ink. Here it is. It's Victorian Velvet. Here we've got the Seedless Preserve Distress Oxide. I literally just rubbed it over just to give it that more dimensional look. There we go. I'm going to glue that on there. Let's just do it. I'm going to glue it on there and fasten it with a stick. I'll make another stick pin, but I'll use that one off my other envelope just to show you the finished effect. Let's cut that little bit off. Let's put some glue on the envelope. Fabri-Tac is phenomenally expensive. This was £14. £14 for 118 mils. I've got that between me and my mum for our lace box, but I pinched a bit. Just stick that on there. I could do a video on these as well, how I made this. I actually made it out of a corsage pin and bought some. Let's have a look. There's the inside. So I got a corsage pin and bought some of the little, put my beads on it, bought some of the little end caps, make sure I'm putting it on the right end. Voila, there we go. Let's move it down a bit. Needs to come down a bit. Let's get it right. And voila, move all these bits and pieces away. There is a beautiful embossed fabric envelope. You can use it to store ephemera in, you could use it to put a journal in, you could make big ones, you could make small ones, you could make money envelopes, all the different types of envelopes. And you could pop it into a journal, you could pop it into a lace fabric book. I think that is really pretty. And looking on YouTube, I haven't seen anybody that makes it purely like this as fabric. The people that I've seen usually adhere the fabric to card, but I think that is absolutely stunning. I hope you agree. Please subscribe to my channel if you like what you see, and please leave your comment below. So I'm Sharon and this is Beadie by Vintage. Thank you so much.